What's going on? So I posted a transformation and I got a lot of feedback on it. I got a lot of messages and a lot of positive feedback. And I want to share my experience with you, the timeline and what I did to get into the shape I'm in now. Now, I want to preface by saying I am far from my best condition from a competitive standpoint. I have no chance in hell in winning a bodybuilding competition or turning pro or in doing any of those sorts of things. Yet that does not matter to me at all. I'm not comparing myself to that, okay? And the reason why I want to put that out there is because I feel like a lot of people always compare me to when I was at my best, right? And they say, well, you're not what you used to be. And it's like, man, I was also 21, 25 years old, focused only on bodybuilding and nothing else. And my priorities have shifted drastically. And, you know, my business is everything and my work is everything. And it's very... I don't want to say it's difficult, it's just not the most important thing in my life. But being in shape is very important. However, I'm not planning on stepping on a stage. That being said, I haven't been happy with the condition and what I look like for the past 6 years of my life. And I don't want to use any excuse, but my priorities have been elsewhere. I've been focusing on my athletes. I've been focusing on the growth of my business. You know, we have 20 people that work for us, with us, and it can be somewhat challenging. I'm just going to be honest with you. And, you know, I put my energy and my time into the things that are the most important, and I wasn't able to find what we call balance. I wasn't able to do it. It's just, I'm a very obsessive person. That's the reality of it. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I put everything into whatever it is that I'm doing. And I haven't been able to find that trade-off from a time perspective until now. And, you know, I made many changes, but the first change I want to talk about is that I made a huge identity shift. So I often talk about identity shift. And the biggest identity shift that I made was that I made sure that I was doing it for myself and no external validation at all. And I told myself when I embarked on this journey of getting back into shape, a few different things. Number one is that I'm not going to post anything until I'm done, because I want to make sure that I'm not doing it because there's a carrot dangling in front of my head and people are giving me applause and approval and validation. And it's not a conscious thing, but I feel like unconsciously or subconsciously we do things unknowingly to appease other people. So I wanted to ensure that the reason why I'm doing it was for me and nothing else. It wasn't to impress anybody. It wasn't for business. It wasn't for anything but me. Because I found myself, by the time I was done competing, I was competing for my business. By the time I was done doing X, Y, and Z, I was doing it for that. By the time I was doing, when I was filming videos, it was for my business, when I was getting back in shape. And I never just did it because I love training and I love resistance training. And that's why I started all of this, and I lost sight of that. And sometimes you have to go back to why you do things in the first place. And so I brought myself back to that point of doing things for the love of it, because I truly believe in resistance training for what it has given me, what it has done for me, psychologically, physically, from a health perspective, and everything in between. So I want to ensure that I was doing it solely for me, selfishly, and that I wasn't doing it for business or any other reason. And that was the first thing that I did. And so I told myself I'm not going to post anything. The second thing that I want to do is I want to ensure that I did it in the healthiest way possible. So I wasn't going to use any supplements. I was never going to use any PEDs. I was never going to do anything. In fact, I told myself that I believe in resistance training so much that I'm not even going to do cardio at all. And I think I did cardio about 5 times over the duration of this last year. And I did it because every time I felt a little bit impatient or I wasn't changing, I wanted to just go and do cardio to accelerate it. And I had to stop myself because I believe that cardio can often be used as a quick fix. I'm not saying it's bad, and I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for it. There definitely is. But the problem is that I believe we use it prematurely. I believe that we rely on it too much to burn fat, when the greatest catalyst for fat burning comes from resistance training, which is what my whole business is predicated on and my whole philosophy. So I wanted to stay true to that, and that was very important to me. So I wanted to ensure I didn't do any cardio throughout this process. I did do it about 5 times just because I was like, you know what, I want to lose a little bit more. But every time I did it, I realized that it was putting me over the edge, okay? Now, what does it mean to be put over the edge? So every time I was doing cardio, I noticed that I wanted to eat more food. And I'm a foodie. Anybody that knows me, I love food. And every single time I wanted to, every time I did cardio, it put me in this state where I wanted to compensate by eating more. So I delineated that, I figured it out, and I really understood that about myself, and I realized that is something that triggers me to want to eat more. So I cut it out and I focused only on resistance training. Another thing that I did is, I should say this. If you look at the transformation as a whole, my body weight changed very little. I was almost around 220 something pounds at the beginning, higher 220, maybe 230, and I'm about 222 right now. So my body weight didn't change much, but obviously my composition changed substantially. And that is a testament that you should not rely on the scale so much. It is a guide, it is a tool. But I found myself initially when I was weighing myself, I was so overly fixated that number would drop. What ended up happening, I probably weighed myself for about 3 weeks and I was dropping, and I just wanted to keep dropping because that became my new objective. But the reality is I lost sight of what my actual objective was, which was to get in better shape. And so I started just trying to lose more weight quickly just so I can see a drop in the scale. And it was annoying because I was looking shittier, I was looking worse, I was looking gaunt, and I didn't like it. Another thing is that I went through this process, and during this process I got really lean, actually leaner than I am now, but I hated how I looked because I lost muscle in the process because I was under eating for different reasons. It wasn't even intentionally, but I was just under eating, restricting more, not really. I was trying to see how little I can eat for a period of time. And so that took me away from why I love doing this in the first place, which is getting a pump and getting stronger and progressing. And that was a big takeaway, that it was it's not even about how lean I am, because often I think that a lot of people, especially when they come to our business, they talk about getting leaner. But the reality is I don't always feel that people want to be leaner. I think they don't know how to articulate what they actually want. And what people actually want is to look better. And the way you look better is by reshaping your body. And largely a big part of shaping your body is muscle and a little bit of fat. And if you compensate by just trying to lose as much as you can, you're going to lose some of that muscle fullness, and you're going to have a shape that you're dissatisfied with. So I wanted to stay true to that resistance training aspect of things, where I can create a physique that I like and that I'm happy with. And I did that. I'm not done. I still want to be better, but I improved substantially. And that was because I wasn't focused only on weight loss. Okay. Another thing is that through the course of this year, and I'm just going to be honest about this. This is kind of embarrassing to admit. Let me tie my shoe while I do this. It's a little bit embarrassing to admit, but the reality is, for me, I always gain more weight in the winter and then I lost more weight in the summer. And I even used to time my shows and things around that. I just like being leaner in the summer. And this is the first year since I was about 18 years old, because keep in mind, I competed from 18 to about 25 years old, so 7 years. And after that, I kind of went downhill. I just kind of lost sight of and the love for training. I was exhausted mentally and burnt out and all that. And this was the first year where I actually got better through the winter. And that's because I focused just on the love of what I was doing and establishing good, healthy habits for why I was doing it in the first place, which I had not done in the past, because all of my objectives in the past were doing it for some sort of external reason, for validation, because it was going to be summer, because I wanted to go out, whatever it was that I was going to do. Well, actually, I never even went out. I realized I don't even like going out, but that's why I was doing it, thinking that I was going to go out, thinking that I was going to like going out, which I realized I don't. And I was not really living honestly to myself. And it wasn't until this year has been the biggest change in my life, because I sat with a lot of questions that I never answered to myself, and I changed a lot of things in myself by figuring out what I like, what I don't like, and ultimately what I want and what I don't want. And how I did this is by reflecting on who I am. And this is a very, very challenging thing to do. We all think we know who we are, and you might wake up at the age of 35 or even 50 and realize I had no fucking clue on who I was as a person. Sometimes you get glimpses of who you are, but it's very rare that you get this mirror put in your face. And when you get this mirror put in your face, you realize everything about yourself, and you allow yourself to be vulnerable and expose yourself for who you are. it is one of the most liberating and invigorating things that you're ever going to experience in your life, because you cannot change the things about yourself if you don't even know who you are, and if you are blind to them, or if you want to deny them. And there's a quote that I love. I don't remember exactly who, but I feel like it's Friedrich Nietzsche. And I believe the quote is something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, if you can hide these ugly emotions and hide these ugly things within you, and they will come out in different ways later on. And that is so true. And they will come out in your disorders, your disorderly behavior, whether it's you overcompensating by eating, whether it's you overcompensating by doing drugs or different things, which I've never done. I've never been, but I'm a food person. And, fasting is one of the best things for humans, I can say. I fast every day. And, I fast the majority of the day. And the reason why I think it's one of the best things for humans, because you deprive yourself of all of the temptation. You deprive yourself of constantly being in this state where you are seeking and engaging in pleasure-filled activity. And when you actually can abstain from that, you are accruing strength. You are developing strength. You are developing strength in the form of your character. And it is one of the best things, because little by little, you can develop yourself and strengthen the character of who you want to become by being able to say no to things. Because if you can't say no to the most basic, fundamental things in your life, such as eating food, drinking things, like, how are you going to say no to the bigger things? And I know it sounds so rudimentary. I know it sounds even trivial. Like, what are you talking about? Why? How? What's the correlation? What's the distinction between these two things? But I realize for myself, it is reality, like, we bullshit ourselves a lot. I bullshit myself a lot. And I had to come to terms with that. Another big thing for me, I don't have kids, but I do have a lot of people that depend on me within my business. And I had to come to the realization that if I wanted to be the absolute best, and I had to have a team that was the absolute best, I had to show up being the absolute best, because my word meant nothing without that. And that was that was a monumental shift, a pivotal shift in my life, when I realized that respect is something that's earned. And the only way that you can really, really cultivate respect from people and command respect from people is by being exactly who you pretend to be, or portray yourself to be. I shouldn't use the word pretend, because I use that because we do pretend. But when you show up exactly the most authentic and honest version of what you portray yourself to be, that is the only way that you're going to command respect from people. And that was another thing that I did. I wanted to make, one of my driving factors is showing up and making sure that I was my absolute best self for people around me as well. And the last point I want to leave you with is this. You have to make an identity shift. I heard Tony Robbins say this one time, and he said that if you're an alcoholic and somebody says, "Do you want to drink?" and you say, "No, thank you. I'm on day 80 of not drinking. I'm on year 2 of not drinking." You're still identifying as an alcoholic, and you need to say to the person, "I don't drink. Period. Full stop." And I truly believe that the only lasting change that you can make in your life, where you can build day after day, month after month, year after year, is when you identify with the behavior of the person that's congruent with the person that you desire to become. So the behavior needs to match. It can't just be something that you're faking it, because we don't have enough discipline. It's finite. We don't have enough of that. You're going to be drained if you're relying on discipline. You need to become the person that you want to become. And the way you do that is by shifting your psychological state to think, act, and believe that you are that person. And the only way that you can do that is through these little decisions. One of my favorite quotes that I use often, it's so simple, but simple is everything. And it's, "Small hinges swing big doors." And essentially what that means is, stop trying to max out. Stop trying to get the big wins. You get the big wins by focusing on the small wins. Max out on the small wins. And when you do that, they accrue, they add up, they compound, and as a result of that, you get the big wins. And people are so focused on like big weight loss, big money gain, big everything, and it's like just your daily decisions that are accruing will compound, they'll add up. And one day you're gonna wake up and be like, wow, I didn't realize I made this big substantial change in my life, same thing happened to me. Or the same thing with my business, same thing with anything. It's like I just show up every day and I give my best effort and I make mistakes and I show up and I keep doing it and I fall off my diet and then I get back on my diet. I don't throw it all away. That's the difference. And it has this compounding effect. And what I've realized that every single thing in life that grows over time, if you, in the short term, if you're looking at it, imminently there's like failure, there's downward trends. But if you zoom out, in the big picture, it's an upward trend, even though there's like short-term downward falls. And when you're so focused on the small picture, you don't pay attention to that. So when in doubt, zoom out. And that's all I want to leave you with today. I want to give some context to the pictures I posted because I got a lot of messages about, how it was thought-provoking for people. And they want to make changes, and a lot of people that follow me now are in different stages of their life. A lot of people that followed me before were young and just trying to get lean, and they're like 18, 20-year-old guys, and I'm a very different person than when I was at that time. My messaging is very different. I don't delete those videos. I learn from things in life, but the reality is I've changed a lot and I've changed who I am. And I'm very proud of the changes that I've made, and I want to continue to provide people with messaging that I think is the most accurate. And that doesn't mean that the things that I put out before were inaccurate. It means they were accurate for that point in my life to be able to get me to where I am today. My one quote that I have written on my walls in the gym is, who you're becoming is more important than where you're going, because who you become in the process dictates where you can go. And essentially what that means is, it's not about what you achieve. It's not about your body. It's not about that. It's like who you become in this process. And we use fitness as a vehicle to be able to move along this journey. And everything that I've gone through and done has shaped me to who I am today in some way, shape, or form. And I couldn't be more proud of all the decisions I've made, good and bad. So thank you guys for watching. If you lasted this long, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like the video, comment, share it with other people. Let me know more of what you want to see, because I would love to help you guys on this journey as well as I go through mine.